coach, and I'm your host, Val V. Today, I'm with Marc from Foodicyn, and he's a new friend of mine, and I find him very intriguing in his knowledge and exactly what he does and why he does it. So we're going to get into it. Hi, Marc.
Hi, Val. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. So tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into the why.
So my name is Marc Neumann. I am the founder of a company called Foodicyn, where we help to make food your medicine.
Okay. And why'd you get into it?
It started many, many, many moons ago when I was 35 years old. I think I woke up to myself, woke up to, I guess, a new sensation of, hold on a second, why am I here? Why am I so sick? Why am I so unhealthy? I didn't choose to be here. How did I get here? And from that moment on, I kind of changed everything about my life, about what I was putting in, about what I believed, about who I believed, and literally put my fingers in my ears. I closed my eyes and I went in search of the truth on human health. And many years later, I'm 52 years old. I've never gone back to a doctor. And I'm helping people reverse disease just through the power of nutrition, the power of food, and hence Foodicyn, making food your medicine.
So you made a comment there that triggered something for me. You said you decided to change your life and look into things, but how did you know who to believe? Because since COVID, the word that I hate the most right now is fucking misinformation.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to use an example before you get into how you chose who to believe or not. Like just this morning on one of the TV news programs that I don't like watching, they said they had a whole thing about, apparently on TikTok, there's a trend right now of people saying don't use sunscreen because it causes cancer. Well, I've been told that years ago, and I haven't used sunscreen in years. And then a doctor comes on and says that's misinformation, and there's proof that it works, but there's also proof that it does cause damage and all the chemicals they use on our skin, and we absorb that. But how did you see the forest through the trees and find out who to believe?
I first of all, I love that question, and I love the detail that you went into to kind of deciphering that. And for me, it was, I grew up in a place very different to a lot of people, but yet some people experience as well, which is a place of pure acceptance, unconditional love. Mom and dad who lived in a good life. Now I'm South African, ex-South African boy growing up in the 70s and 80s in South Africa. So life was very different for me, back then. And so we had the best of everything. And when life is good and people have money, you can give all the love that you need. And so for me, I never questioned anything. I emulated where I came from. But where I started to, again, connect with, hold on a second, I'm 35 years old. I got 2 young children. I'm sick as a dog. And when I say I'm sick as a dog, I had 12 diseases. I had 14 medications that I didn't ask for them, but yet I believed in the system that I grew up in enough to say, oh, I'm not feeling so good. Let's go to the doctor. Because why? Because the person that you trust the most takes you to the doctor, meaning your mom. And then because you have all the trust in the world in your mom, you put all the trust in the world in the doctor and the system, and you come home with a pill feeling excited about the fact that you're going to be okay for the rest of your life until you realize, oh my God, I'm not. I think many people can emulate with that story, but where I kind of separate from everybody else is that I stopped believing my mom and my dad. I stopped believing my doctors. I stopped believing the schooling and the schooling system. And I literally went like this, went like that. And I said, I'm starting from scratch again. I'm a smart man. I've had a lot of good things happen to me in my life, but this is not where I wanted to be. And so where do you find the truth? I guess I started, believe it or not, back in those days. I mean, we're talking 17 years ago. I believed, I went to the computer and you kind of go to Google because it was just the beginning of that internet. If I didn't have Google, I might have gone to World Book or the encyclopedia. Excuse me for a second.
Aged us, the encyclopedia. You just aged us.
I know. But think about this. We used to open up a page and we thought all the information, what we ever needed to know was on that page. And so therefore everything was good. And so what I really did when I had this epiphany in my life, like, oh my God, everything I've been taught is wrong because I follow the laws of society, but here I am. And so I literally typed into the computer, what does the human body need in order to survive? And I started from there. And the five key principles that came up were no different to what we all know: oxygen, hydration, nourishment, shelter, and sleep. But here's where I took a different turn. I started deciphering the oxygen, the hydration, meaning breath of life and water. I started deciphering the shelter and the sleep. If I've got a job and a roof over my head and I've got a bed, I can sleep. But then the nutrition side of it is where I kind of veered off from society and created my own path. And it literally took me 8.5 years to connect with alkaline, which is everything that Foodicyn is based on. It's alkaline foods, because everything that 20th century is based on is the opposite of alkaline, which is acid. And so what I put together was the idea that I was so sick and unhealthy because the industry that I came from, which was the food industry, the hospitality, I worked in restaurants and bars and catering events when life was exciting, when these were all new experiences for all of us. You go 30, 40 years down the road, I grew up in an industry where people didn't have lactose intolerance, where there were no allergies, where nothing of that sort existed. But now it's everywhere. And it is all
Everywhere.
exactly. And so, just to answer your question, it wasn't about me believing in one thing or another. It was me not believing in everything and starting from there again. And when I literally, and here's an interesting kind of spiritual turn. Because the decisions that I made in my life got me to where I was by following everything and everybody. And by the way, I'm also divorced. I got 2 kids I don't see. There's lots that has gone on in my life through this journey. But every decision that I made got me to the point of that unhealthy, unwell, separated place in my life. So literally when I was 35 and I started researching and I started reversing the disease in my body, I literally looked up to the heavens above and I said, I'm no longer going to make decisions. I am on your journey. You show me. I will give myself to you if you guide me, and I will do the work. And you know what? I stand here
Wow.
today. Yeah, it's pretty surreal, but I stand here today uh, very much not making decisions based on the 20th century construct of life, but based on decisions of the path of least resistance. And in there, I have really found my purpose in life. I have found my biggest joy, which is waking up every day and helping people feel as great on the inside as I do every day by helping them change. I guess this whole concept is about change. How do we change? You know, if you follow certain pillars of either religion or industry, there is always a motivation behind that. And so if you
Follow the money. They always say, follow the money.
but the motivation is, if you want to change within yourself, don't follow a pillar of money. Follow the roof. So if you've got 4 pillars, that, let's say, 4 pillars of religion or 10 pillars of religion, let's say there's 1,000 different religions, you put those pillars, there's always the roof that is the spiritual roof, which all connects us all. So
Yep.
go deeper into that, go further into that. And as the human spirit that we are, as the body that we are, I've learned a very, very valuable lesson, is that you cannot change without first taking control of your body. That's the physical aspect. When you have control of your body and you understand where purity lies and how you can be that earthworm, and I mean by rebuilding yourself and having total sovereignty of that, only then can you free the mind to focus on your soul's journey. And
Wow,
that's
that's
kind of
powerful, Mark.
very powerful stuff, but it hasn't happened and quickly and overnight. It takes a long time to believe that, and to believe in self. And so, you know, that first moment of oxygen, hydration, nourishment, shelter, and sleep set me on the path of, again, disconnecting from what we were told, because I didn't choose to be there. I just followed, and I was sick and unhealthy, to finding the balance from Mother Nature, from, who do I believe in? Mother Nature and, the creator of this earth are my 2 main pillars of focus. Everybody
Yeah.
else, as you said, when you meet really awesome people, you connect with really awesome people. But 99% of the time, people are trying to sell you. They're trying to get something from you. They're trying to extort you. They're trying to not saying that people are bad. People are good innately, but society
Yeah.
has drawn us in that space.
Um, it's funny. We kind of I met Mark at the 400 market. We both have booths there. He comes and goes, right? You're very busy and you go everywhere. You're helping people everywhere. But it's amazing how there's a few of us in there that are actually there to help people. You got Dr. Anna, who left Big Pharma and started her own nutraceutical company, and she's so passionate about it. And in all her products that she's creating, she makes sure she verifies like where they come from and stuff like that, so like the quality is really good. And then there's me, I help with CBD. um and then that, because it breaks my heart when I see they're putting all these seniors on oxycontin and they've never been high in their life, and they have all this pain and they don't know why. So rather than finding out where the pain's coming from, they're just masking it and giving them drugs, right? And then there's Cody with the shrooms, and like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, we've really attracted a good tribe of people there, right? In such an odd place. But I'm very proud of it, and I'm proud that I actually met you. um
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think it's interesting. I mean, our paths crossed many times when I was there originally, but it was always just a hi because you were on the other side. But
Yeah,
when I came back this time, yeah, there was something about our
you're
connection
on the
that
right side
I'm
now.
on the right side. But yeah, I think I mean I've often spoken to vendors in in the 400 market, and I've expressed that it's not a flea market in any way, shape, and form. It's more of an artesian market where you've got a lot of the flea stuff in between the real passionate people that have found something that helps others. It helped them. You're right. You mentioned Cody. Like I call him the mushroom guy, not the shroom guy. Shrooms is to me
The
is the
psychedelic
drug,
one, sorry, I
but
should correct that.
that's
He is a
okay.
mushroom guy.
But the mushroom guy, I mean, what he does with mushrooms and how he's helping people with making his tinctures and his tonics is it's helping people make sure that they get a better life. And yeah, I think I love
And
that.
passionate about it. His passion.
He
It's
lives
so,
it.
he does live it. He does
Yeah,
live it. I So they just had a baby, right? And I was at
yeah.
a vendor market for whatever last long weekend we had, and there was a lady that did like that thick, like the little toys that are knitted.
Okay.
And didn't I find a pop up mushroom that I bought for the baby? I had to buy it, and
Oh
he's like, "Oh my
yeah.
god, it's so cute!" Yeah. Uh, but we're passionate. You're passionate. You gave me a little smorgasbord of stuff to try. I am probably the worst person to try to convert because I have texture issues, consistency issues, um, just issues because I got lots of issues.
Which, by the way, are socially geared, right? I mean, society, and when I say socially, it's society that has made you feel that you can't step out of that uncomfortable zone. But that's not right here or there. What I've been spending years doing is figuring out a truth, not a different way or a new way, but the truth. And when you realize that we only have five key principles, you can get your alkaline in other ways other than Foodicyn. Foodicyn has just managed to take 35 different ingredients and help you get that into your body every day through a nice, fun, exciting new way of nourishing the body. But if you want to really change your life, start by putting 70 to 80% of your daily food into an alkaline place. And what that really means is if it didn't come from a tree, if it didn't come from the ground, if it comes, if it didn't have life inside of it, and if you're eating it and it doesn't have life, the chances are 99.999% of it is going to be acidic, dead food. And
Mm,
so, we are life and we are living foods, living cells, I should say. And so the living food helps us get there. Now, textures, etc. Gnocchi, sorry, you'll never get gnocchi in my mouth ever again. The first time I tried it, I thought, I don't ever want this in my mouth again. You probably love it. Am I right?
it's not my
It's not
go-to.
okay, fair enough. But people love it, and
Yeah.
me, I can't do that. So I completely get that. But the idea behind what I'm doing is not just for you to have my product. The idea is to introduce a new understanding of nutrition fit for our human species. Since the last month and a half, I've taken a real shift from trying to provide one-on-one to looking at a bigger platform of reaching, those that most need nutrition. And if you look at the elderly, as you mentioned, they're on Ozempic, they're on all these different things.
Ugh.
I'm looking at taking my consulting into those places and spaces and showing them and teaching them the formula of Foodicyn so that they can add a green juicing program onto their menus.
I think I'm going to interrupt you there for just a second because you just triggered another memory for me. So Tony had a heart attack back in 2015, and I never left his side. We went from Ajax Hospital to Centenary to Sunnybrook, 30 days. The guy, he never left the hospital. I never left the hospital. And, well, I did leave a couple times when he was in Centenary because it wasn't so serious. He hadn't had his operation yet. So I would come home, and then I'd come home, make food, and then bring him. Because I would bring food. At the time, we owned the olive oil stores. And all our olive oil was lab tested. Because the stuff that you buy at the grocery store, like Bertolli and all that crap, it is what it is. It's crap. Real olive oil you can't buy for $7 or whatever the price is now a bottle. Tony's actually almost like an olive oil sommelier. He was the second one, sir. He's a certified olive oil taster, so he can determine if it's bug infested, mold infested, so on and so forth, right? So we had these stores, and we had everything at our fingertips. So I would make these amazing salads, like kale salad with cranberries and pumpkin seeds and blood orange and with a beautiful fresh high polyphenol olive oil and a beautiful 100-year-old balsamic. The company's 100 years old, but an 18-year-old balsamic, right? And they would say, see, Mr. V, see, this is how you should be eating. And he goes, this is how we eat. Unfortunately, my husband worked nights. So his heart attack was genetics or the lack of sleep, because he wouldn't sleep when your body should be sleeping. He'd be working and then sleep now during the day. Right. So he wasn't, I guess, getting into the REM sleep,
Right.
where your body's supposed to heal.
Yeah.
So a lot of doctors, ambulance drivers, nurses suffer from heart attacks because of this reason in the shift work that they work. But I really think you should go into, my whole point about this is the tray would come with food, and it was garbage food, like garbage. An apple juice that's full of sugar, a sandwich with processed cheese, just shit. It was just shit. It was shit.
20th century food shit. Exactly.
Yeah. So, that I think that would be a great place to start. That maybe so there was a lot of men that didn't have visitors, right? And I saw this one guy, he just had a heart attack. It was his second one. He just had a surgery. He actually went code blue at one point, but he was young. He was our age. And what was on his table? A can of Coke and a big bag of chips.
Listen,
And
you
I'm
go,
like,
yeah, you go into the cancer, the chemotherapy wards there, and while they're actually consuming the medicine, right, the chemotherapy, they're walking around with trays of Ensure to try get their energy back up.
that's what my sister-in-law is drinking right now.
Right,
That's
and when you think about it, what is the biggest cancer causer there? It's sugar. If you look at Ensure, the first ingredient is sugar. So they're just feeding the cycle. They're feeding the industry. But I'll show you a story that happened recently to me. My mom, bless her, she's an awesome human being, and she suffered with what they call, oh my God, what do they call it? It was pneumonia, but it was a different type of pneumonia.
Bronchitis?
No. It's slipped my mind right now. But anyway, so she was suffering really bad. She was in hospital for about 8.5, almost 9 weeks. This was about 10 months ago. Within 4 weeks of her being there, she hadn't eaten, she hadn't drank, she was hallucinating, she was losing weight, her body was eating itself to the point of, she had no muscle left on her, there was no fat in her body. She was almost like a concentration camp survivor. By 4.5 weeks later, after they've done test after test after test, not knowing what it is, but keeping her on antibiotics, and we'll try this antibiotic and try that antibiotic. Eventually, something happened, and she started coming a little bit around. And they started kind of ordering food from the places, and every time I would go there, I'd be like, no. So I eventually pulled my family aside, and I said, I am taking control of mom's nutrition. If I'm going to go to the health food store, I'm going to get the best protein shakes that are going to be clean. I'm going to make sure that she gets Foodicyn, and I'm going to make her salads and fruit salads. It took her 4.5 weeks to kind of get to the point where they could release her. She is now at home. She is what they thought. We actually at one point held hands as a family and almost said goodbye to her. She didn't want to.
Oh,
There was a DNR sign. We don't want no intubation. If I'm going to go, I'm going to go. She is now at home. She's on an amazing nutritional scheme of food and healthy, eating and living. And she is as she'll never be the same person again. She is thriving in the person that she is now. She's a lot smaller. She's a lot frailer, but her organs are strong. Her blood is thick. Her body's functioning. Her muscles might be weak and limp, but she is alive, and her quality of life is fantastic again, as opposed to the opposite, when people just go into the hospital and they never get any energy back. They never get any quality of life back, because quality of life is directly related to food. One of the challenges that I have of what you said about getting into hospitals is that it's all industry controlled.
I
So
know.
my goal
I
is
know.
to get into the privates. My goal is to work with individuals that actually care about the elderly, the decision makers within those platforms, so that and we implement it through their eyes, not through the eyes of what already exists in the 20th century kitchens that they operate, but we bring something new and different in there, because it's about making a real difference. Because
You're
we shouldn't suffer like that. We
you're a
don't.
vegan, right?
So here, I don't subscribe to anything. I'm a human. And what that means is
Okay.
that I'm an omnivore. And that means that 80% of my food is vegetation. 80%
Okay.
of my food comes from the earth. But I'm also a food addict. That's how I got my diseases. There's nothing that I don't love except for gnocchi, right? As we've established. So I don't put myself into any category, but I know what my body thrives on, and I know what I like. And when I choose
Yeah.
to have what I like, I go all in, knowing that I'm not going to do it all the time. I'm going to do it once in
Yeah.
a while. And so, therein lies me living my life, eating what I want to eat, when I want to eat it. But generally, my morning, midday, and afternoon is taken care of by making sure that my animal and my organs are fed first and foremost. And again,
Nice.
I'm 52. I've never gone back to a doctor. I don't take any more pills, and I'm helping people just walk away from disease.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So, other than going into like these smaller places to try to get in and change people's diets, what's the plan for Foodicyn?
So that's really the growth plan, is that I think if I can start to make a difference in the elderly's lives, and their children who are smart and, let's say 50, 60 years old, can see the change happening within their own parents, I think they'll start to look at maybe changing their own lives, and then they change the lives of their children and then their grandchildren. And before you know it, Foodicyn has started an alkaline movement that connects with the beauty of humanity. I mean, if you think about this for a second, heaven on earth. We
Okay.
can live it. I live it every day. I'll ask 1,000 people, do you live heaven on earth? I bet you 997 of them say, no, got no idea how to live, how to make heaven down here on earth. But it starts with change. It starts with, with loving yourself. It starts with, loving yourself through the right nutrition, through the right electrical charges. I mean, imagine putting diesel into a non-diesel car. Imagine
Yeah.
trying to charge your phone with a plug that's from lights. Where what I'm saying is that if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. And the
Right.
20th century food cycle doesn't fit. It fits with our human experience. But we are now seeing that human experience has created so much disease. And so by loving oneself through putting electrical charge and electrical food into one's body, we can really start a movement that will change the way we perceive how to feed our children. Instead of saying, oh, here's a candy because you've been so good, why are we giving our children poison as a reward? I mean, it starts from there. right? And I use that word poison because it is. Sugar and flour is no different and farmed no differently to heroin and cocaine. The difference is that industries make a lot of money off of sugar and flour, and cocaine and heroin kills you very quickly. So, but sugar and flour kill you slowly. It's
I sorry, I just saw a video. Like I follow like a whole bunch of guys, like Gary Brecka and a whole bunch of. But I don't know who this guy was. It was a new video, and he said cheese. I sent it to Rula, my friend Rula, because the night before we were out for dinner. She was eating a salad, and she took a big chunk of blue cheese, which I think is disgusting, this big. And I was like, oh my god, you're frying your brain cells. Um, but apparently cheese is sugar and is more addicting than sugar itself.
yeah, I
That's
think
what he said.
there is so much more information coming out there. What I love about where I am is the science that is coming out in these documentaries and through brilliant people like Gary Brecka and all these kinds of well-learned individuals. The science has caught up with where Foodicyn has been for the last 15 years. Because as I'm watching these documentaries, I'm sitting back there going, that's Foodicyn, that's food. And every one of them is gearing towards plant food. You know, I look at guys like Gary Brecka and I think to myself, wow, like as far as their knowledge, I couldn't even compare. But when I'm an individual that's trying to get healthy and well, and I listen to what they're saying, I still don't know where to start. I still don't have
Yeah.
a starting point. Oh, so okay, so I mustn't have cheese, okay, and I mustn't have this, and I mustn't have that, and I mustn't do this. All of a sudden, it becomes so confusing. One of the things that I worked so very hard at is when I started my journey. Um, I would go to seminars, I would go to places and spaces and learn what people are talking about. And I'd feel excited by leaving there in the evening, but I'd wake up in the morning and realize that nothing out there supported what they were saying. And so
Hmm.
what I've done is I've created that space for anybody, any human being, because we are a species. And what I've created is a very quick and simple way for our species, anybody who's in the realm of saying, I want to take back control of my life. I've created that space, what science
Yeah.
is now connecting with, that you can do it very, very quickly. If you have the discipline, if you have the taste sensations, like I worked hard at making healthy taste like more, even though it might
Hmm.
not connect with your textures, etc. I've worked really hard at taking the elements of alkaline and making it taste really good so that people can enjoy getting healthy and so they can live this life for the rest of their life. Otherwise, what's the point? I mean, I don't need to be a nutritionist or a dietitian where you come back week after week after week, month after month, year after year, and you still don't get it right. I want to be able to give you, after a month, the wings to spread your own wings or the power to spread your own wings and fly. And you teach somebody to fish and they fish for a lifetime. And that's really the key to Foodicyn.
Tony's really good at that too. My husband, he's got so much willpower. I don't have the willpower that he has. Um, he started following Dr. Esselstyn. I don't know if you know about him. Forks Over Knives. You know the
Yeah, a little bit.
documentary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where this doctor actually Tony even called him, and he called Tony back. So Tony started being a vegan for a few years because the medication that he was put on after his heart attack, which is the statin, the cholesterol pill, he was getting a lot of pain in his joints and stuff like that. And
Mm.
it's known that if you're on it for a long time, you'll eventually get Alzheimer's.
Uh,
So he didn't want that for his life. So he thought, I'm going to stop the statin. I'm going to, because Dr. Esselstyn says heart disease is the toothless tiger. It doesn't need to exist and you can change it with diet, right?
100%.
So he did it and he got off his statin, and his heart specialist, what his heart specialist said to him? He's like, so you're off your statin? He goes, yeah. He goes, so you want to die?
Ah.
That's literally what he said to him, right? And it's amazing how you have two doctors in the same industry. I think I don't know what Dr. Esselstyn, if he's a cardiologist or not, but my husband's cardiologist. Like you listen to they're so like polar opposites sometimes. Did they not get the same education? Are they not reading the same peer reviewed and published studies and stuff? Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I've lost after COVID, I've lost so much faith in so many industries, like,
Yeah,
our healthcare system, our police, our, well, government, I've never had faith in. But
yeah.
it just, it just, you look at it and it's like, it's all about money. There's no humanity anymore.
Money, yeah, money, control, and fear. You know,
Money, control, and fear. Exactly.
and fear comes from both sides. You see, I've looked at this for a long time. I don't think that any doctor in their own mind is a heartless person, but they are governed by a system that tells them how to act and how to behave and what they're allowed to do. And so there's some that are that doctorate through fear of the corporation, the medical industry, and so they follow all the rules and they don't really look outside the box, because it's no different from a Coke or a Pepsi employee. If you sell Coke, you can only look at the world this way. If you sell Pepsi, you can only look at that way. So, and then
Mm-hmm.
there are other doctors that kind of have, a little bit more kind of, I guess, tenacity to realize that we are a living cellular breathing aspect. And when you understand that every pharmaceutical comes from a petroleum based substance, you realize that that's just poison for the body, and there has to be a different way. You know, so the doctors that tell you that it's only going to be one way are governed. They're telling you to be fearful because they're fearful. So you can't really
Mm-hmm.
blame them. They're only doing what they do. Whereas the
Yeah.
other ones that, Dr. McCullough and some of these other guys who are brilliant human beings that have just looked at it outside of the box, uh, like anybody would have done before COVID, to go get a second opinion. Now you're not
Right.
allowed a second opinion.
Right.
Here's when the whole COVID thing came around, I was my mind about the science and the medication, the medical industry was made up 12 years prior to COVID. I
Yeah.
walked away from every disease. I stopped believing in that system. And so when COVID came around, it wasn't even a question for me. It was, I don't need that. I wasn't an anti-vaxxer. I don't need to be that forceful in who I am. But
Yeah.
you do you, and I'm going to do me. But I
That's right.
understand, and I'm 52 years old, and I'm thriving, and I'm healthy, and I'm strong, and I didn't suffer not from one bout of COVID during COVID. I was kicked out of groups that I've been part of for years. My bubble, that I was a part of my bubble, when I decided, when the vaccines finally came, and I decided to let them know that I'm not doing it, even though our discussions were all about me not doing it, and they were
Mhm.
undecided. When it came time to that decision, I was booted out of that bubble. And has anybody now called me and said, "Oh, Mark, we're really sorry because we can see
They
the
won't.
information that," of course not, right? They kind of just brush it under the carpet and get on with their lives. And
Well, it's funny.
I don't have any ill will towards these people, right?
No.
Live your
Well,
life.
it's funny because we were just talking about this on another episode called Shitty Friends.
Hmm.
And during COVID, I realized that there were a lot of shitty friends that were out there. Well, truly, I guess they weren't friends, because if I was so easily thrown away, they obviously, I didn't mean much to them, right? Just because of my stance, like, I couldn't wear a mask. We talked about it. I had brain
Yeah.
surgery, I had cranial leakage. So I couldn't wear a mask. The doctor told me not to put it on, but nobody gave a shit. No one asked me why, and they called me the anti vax or whatever. I told everybody in my family, I just want you to wait. I just want you to wait, because it's an experimental drug. Um, so our families were kind of torn apart a little bit. Some were no, some were, I'm doing it for humanity. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I'm going to sit on the fence for a while. So, actually, it wasn't even on the fence. I was just right from the start, right when it started, I
Just
said to my nephew, something's just not right here. My
yeah.
gut was screaming, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like, I think we got sick. It just like was like a flu. Even my sister-in-law, who had cancer, caught it, and or so those nose things said it was, which I don't believe. And my dog's barking. I don't know if you can hear that. That's
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
for a podcast.
All good. It's
Sorry.
all good. That's all good.
Um, but we just, I just I didn't do any of it, right? And but I lost so many people. But now some people have come to me and said, you know what? I wish I listened. Some people have said, this happened to me after I got the vaccine because it fucked with their body. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it because they don't want me to hear this. I won't say I told you so. You made your
No.
decision based on whatever facts you took. And then there's some people that still believe that it worked and they've gotten COVID like 10 fucking times, but I didn't die. I didn't
Right.
die. And
Right.
I'm
And
like, well,
yeah. And
you know
here's
what
I
I'm
remembered what they called my mother's pneumonia. It was called organizing pneumonia. And I said, well, what exactly does that mean?
What does that
And
mean?
I said to the nurse at one stage, I said, could this be related to the shot? Because my mom's had, I think, 3 plus the boost, or 4 with them. And they're like, well, the nurse said we're not allowed to talk about it. I said, okay, well, let me see. They don't know what it is, right? And she showed me a list on a computer. There must have been, honestly, about 150 different tests that they tested for that they couldn't find. It's not this related, it's not that. So what do? They call it organizing pneumonia. And in my summation is that you got the spike protein, right? And then you got the spike protein, and the spike proteins connect together and they organize
Yeah.
around particular organs. And so instead of saying, hey, it's something that we've never seen before, let's maybe look at alternative values of treating it. Like maybe, I don't know, let's throw out an ivermectin out there, or a, or something
Oh, Mark.
something
Okay,
that's been bad,
we need
right?
to come out of the hole. We need to come out of the hole. We need to come out of the rabbit hole.
Yeah, like why don't we try something different? But they didn't. But it goes to show that even through the challenge that my mom went through, nutrition on a pure form in its
Yeah.
abundance can help keep the human body activated, alive, and thriving. And to me, that was the biggest lesson. It doesn't matter what people are doing; it's how can you keep control. And my mom and dad today, I feed them. My dad doesn't go a day without having his morning routine of Foodicyn, and
Love it.
he'll be 80 in June, and he's a happy, healthy, young 80-year-old. I mean, he looks like he's
That's
60, right?
awesome.
So
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, so the whole kind of world that we live in now is, how do we make a change within our lives, and who
Mhm.
do we believe in? Well, I think we got to start believing in ourselves. We got to start believing in our gut more. There are a lot of people that have regrets of taking it because they wanted to travel, or
Tons. I meet people
because of their
all the
job.
time.
So if they were to
Yeah.
listen to their gut more, they would have made the right decision as opposed to following status quo. And
I
status
feel bad
quo,
for that. I feel bad for the people that were actually forced by their jobs or just to see their parents at a nursing home. That's where I feel for those people because you're choosing your livelihood to support your children,
yeah, and
keep
they
your
had to,
home.
right? There
They
was
had to,
literally there was
right?
a gun to the head. So yeah, I mean,
There was a gun to their head.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So if people wanted to find you, we're going to wrap it up here. If
beautiful.
people wanted to find you, how do they find you, Mark?
So as you said, I've got a little beautiful store up at the 400, just down the road from you. If you guys go to Vel, she'll guide you towards me. It's kind of that way. I'm there every Saturday and Sunday, and I've always got a massive amount of time to talk to you, and to
He
help you
does.
figure out, how to get the best out of your life. Alternatively, you can go to my website. It's www.foodicyn.com. That's FOODICYN.com. On my YouTube channel, I've got a podcast. It's called One Voice. It's really about the new understanding of nutrition for our species, and my tagline, I think, is Foodicyn Inc.
Well,
And
I'll install that. I'll get that all from you and I will place it in the description and
okay,
make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of you for sure.
yeah, and reach out. My phone number, you put it in there as well. And
Okay.
it said I'm here to help, and
I
I'm here
love that.
to educate and hold your hand and kind of get you to that point of knowing that you are a sovereign being. And when you take control of your body, you take control of your life and your world, and it becomes the most incredible place to live down here, which is
I
heaven
love
on earth.
that. I love that, Mark. Thank you so much for coming onto my podcast. I know I'm a newbie at this. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and maybe you'll come back on when we're further along our careers.
Okay, I love you, and thanks so much, and I love this opportunity, every minute of it.
Thanks, Mark. I'll see you on Saturday.
You got it, Val. Have a great week.
Okay, see
Bye.
ya.
See you,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.